guys? I hope you're all doing really well. So this week I ended up watching the new It last night. I also finished the book and the original 1990 miniseries. So it's been a pretty creepy and fun week, I would say. I've had a lot to process, these different stories and different takes on the material. It's very interesting and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about it. So the original It was of course written by Stephen King back in 1986, and I decided to listen to it on an audiobook. Overall there was terrific narration, but if I could go back, I would honestly just read it like a normal book. For one thing, it's 45 hours long and the book itself is like 1,100 pages, but I just feel like I could get through it a little bit quicker, and I love the idea of being able to imagine things myself. Now I also watched the 1990 miniseries for the first time, which, you know, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. However, I just don't know. It's so dated. There's a lot of things about it that really don't work well nowadays. Obviously, there's a lot they couldn't do like they could with this 2017 R-rated movie. But I gotta hand it off to Tim Curry. I mean, he's great in that film. I prefer more kind of creepy, not quite as funny Pennywise like we see in the new one. But overall, it still worked really well. Now let's get to the new film, shall we? The director of this new movie, his name is Andy Muschietti, and I actually reviewed his film Mama for the first time. It was the first movie review I ever officially did, first article I ever wrote that was published. It was of course from my college newspaper, but still, that was really cool and a nice milestone for me. The other thing, he supposedly might one day actually direct Shadow of the Colossus, one of my favorite video games of all time. But seeing as how we haven't heard much about it in the last year or two, it's probably not going to happen. And of course, with It now out, we know that there's a chance we probably won't see any other film from him for a while, other than the duology that he's creating here. That's right, this film is more like Chapter 1 or Part 1, The Losers Club, about all the characters when they were kids. And I mean just about everyone except for Pennywise, because we don't know, I don't ever want to see him as a kid, no thanks. He's creepy enough as some kind of ancient, eternal, demonic spirit being thing as it is. So a lot of you know I'm a big horror fan, and I was really looking forward to this movie. You know, the cool thing is it's not just a horror movie. There's so much more to it here, and I'm gonna get into that in a sec. First things first, for those of you who are a fan of the novel or the miniseries, you know that it took place in about 1958. The main thing they did different here was that it takes place in 1989. Other than that, we have the same exact characters and same story, just kind of, you know, more updated. They cut out a lot of the stuff that really wouldn't have gelled that well nowadays. For example, the book had a lot of dated references, things that some people nowadays might not understand. There was a lot more focus on sort of like the racism that was going on in the town, and a couple other things I won't say, just I don't want to spoil too much. There's also one specific part in the book that many people did not expect to see in the movie, and yeah, it's definitely not there. I won't say explicitly what it's all about, but you know, it deals with all the kids and their sort of friendship. I won't really get into it, but just know it deals with Beverly and the rest of the kids in the group, and something that happens later on near the end of the novel. But see, I really like this because there's so much material, and the director really chooses to focus on the best of the best and really the most necessary parts. Not only that, but he decides to take it a different level and tell the story strictly from the kids' perspective at that time period. So instead of that back and forth, we have just the kids here, and I think it works very well. I guess perhaps I really enjoy that sort of chronological storytelling. It's kind of cool when it's broken up, when you can see like, oh, well, remember when that happened here? Oh, let's look back at that. But it just works so well the way he decided to do it. Now, this movie definitely has that vibe of a bunch of awesome kids that are kind of outsiders or losers. You know, like in the Goonies, Stand By Me, Stranger Things, E.T., that sort of thing. But then you throw in Pennywise the dancing clown, and that just makes for a very interesting story that you're going to witness here. Again, going back to the timeline though, when it's set during 1989, what's cool is there are a couple references to the time period, some music that was popular back in the day, but think of it this way. The movie is probably going to reach up back 27 years later when these kids are adults, so that's pretty cool. The director was thinking, oh yeah, it's going to be like, what, 2016, 2017 by then? We'll see what happens. For those unfamiliar, the overall premise of the film deals with these mysterious murders of children that have been taking place in Derry, Maine. Soon we meet a couple of kids that start seeing things all the time based on all these different fears that they're having. So as you can see, there's a lot of really cool imagination that starts to play into this film. Every one of these kids has a different thing that sort of makes them stand out, whether it's Eddie Kaspbrak, who's kind of a mama's boy and terrified of germs and all sorts of things, or Mike Hanlon, who's an outsider and homeschooled. Then you have Bill Denbrough, who has a little bit of a stutter, and Ben Hanscom, who's a little bit on the chubby side. That leaves Stanley Uris, who gets picked on a little bit because of his religious faith. And lastly, Beverly Marsh, who gets picked on because of rumors about her sleeping around with other boys. And let's keep in mind, these kids are about 11 to 12 years old based on the book. Oh, I almost forgot one of them. You're definitely going to recognize Finn Wolfhard, you know, Mike from Stranger Things. He, of course, plays one of the more memorable losers, Richie Tozier. You know, he's got that motor mouth, he's constantly talking, blah, 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 and then they give him that sort of catchphrase they keep saying in the novel and the miniseries, beep beep Richie. It's usually just to kind of shut him up. It was cool how they decided to include that in the movie. I kept waiting for it. I kept saying throughout the movie, I was like, beep beep Richie, but it took a while till they actually said it, and the way they did it was really cool. So the acting in this film is just phenomenal. All the kids, Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård, everyone here does such a great job. They do a great job of giving every character enough screen time to develop some sort of emotional attachment, and that was very key to this film. While it is horror, there's a very nice drama feel to it, and there is those bits of comedy that helps you kind of relax after some really intense scenes. Oh, and this film, it's really intense at times. I mean, seriously guys, there are some moments here that I was just really caught off guard by how far they went. The practical effects and the CGI stuff they do with Pennywise is unbelievable. I really feel like it takes a whole new level to what we've seen in the horror or just overall like things like this. It's awesome. Because the heart of the story really goes into the kids' imagination of these fears that they have and what they see. It is so crucial that the things that comes off on screen feels very realistic, and it just hits you hard at times. The movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes long, but that's a perfect length, especially considering they only went through basically the first half of the book, which is 1,000 pages, so you have to really include that and expand upon it enough so that you're fitting all the things that are absolutely necessary. There are very few dull moments in this movie. Every other scene there's something really crazy going on, and you're just looking forward to seeing out how it's going to play out. There's this great eerie music, this really cool kind of like clown creepy like music that you would hear at a carnival and all that stuff. They just do such an awesome job trying to give you this atmosphere in this film. I could go on, but I simply don't want to spoil it for you guys. I hope you go out and see this movie, even if you're not a fan of horror movies. It might be pretty intense for you, but I just think it's really worth seeing, especially if you like these kind of heroic underdog stories. At this point, I can't wait to see the movie again, and I'm even more excited to see how they're going to close it up with part 2. When these kids grow up and become adults. It is a hauntingly powerful adaptation that will make you float with glee while facing your greatest fears. And that's why it is a Dyligent pick. So, how many of you are going to see it soon? What was your favorite thing about the novel, miniseries, or this new movie? Let me know in the comments below. My name is Dylan, and if you love entertainment, subscribe to my channel while this video ends, and send me a thumbs up before you go. Thanks for watching, and stay diligent.